Hello there. Today's episode is brought to you by A&W Root Beer. So, we're going to start the podcast off by chugging some root beer. Ow. My throat is itchy. And that actually itches it. That actually scratches the itch. Well, I've been breathing in psyllium husk. I don't know if you ever went to Bulk Barn and seen the psyllium husk, which is like people who say that mucoid plaque isn't real. They eat psyllium husk and bentonite clay, and then that congeals in their stomach, and then they shit that out. And then that's like a psyop against understanding that mucoid plaque is real and it lives in the small intestine. And so I went to Bulk Barn and I got a bunch of psyllium husk and just like stayed in a bag, and I cleaned my room, and now my fucking room is full of like dust particles of like years old psyllium husk. And I've been like having crazy allergic reactions, which have been horrible. And Marina told me how to clean my room, and she was so confident, she was so hot, she's like, put it all on your bed. I was like, yes ma'am, yes mistress. She's like, move your bed to the other side because your electronic harassment will decrease. I was like, I never said I had electronic harassment, but I kind of have. I've kind of wondered about it. I don't know. Certainly if you tell someone that electronic harassment is happening, they can find the symptoms and make it feel real. But there was this RF reader on Quora, and this post was showing how the ratings were really high and how they were being attacked with like radio frequencies or something. I don't really know. I don't understand it. So I copied the pictures and I sent them to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT was like, this is completely normal. This is the normal amount of RF in any household. And I was like, is this just a big psyop? I don't know. And then there was, like, obviously directed energy weapons exist. And anything that's seeming like a directed energy weapon can be explained by something else too. Which, if they were using directed energy weapons, they would design the weapon to mimic other things so that they can explain it away. For example, there was an RV camper across our street for months, and we would hear these loud pong noises on our walls. And I said to ChatGPT, what are those noises? And it said, it's the pressure changing, the wooden beams or something. So, certainly would they use directed energy weapons? Yeah. They definitely would. Now, the guy in the CIA, the whistleblower, who exposed the heart attack gun, he died shortly after that. And some of the comments were saying, by the time they actually show you the weapon, it means they already have a new one. But that wasn't a directed energy weapon. That was something like an ice pellet that had frog poison in it, or something. I don't know if it was frog poison, but some kind of neurological or heart-stopping, some kind of poison that stops your heart, and it hits you with like, I think it was called a sachet of ice. It was some word I hadn't heard before. Something made of ice, and the only thing it leaves is a little red mark on you, and then it absorbs into your blood, and you die of a heart attack. And I forgot. I don't know how the guy who exposed it died. He certainly was killed, but I don't know if they used the heart attack gun on him, or if he hanged or something, and they made it look like a suicide. I shouldn't laugh at that, you know. The guy did a very brave service. You know, he was intelligent enough to know that people aren't going to go, oh my God, whoa, the CIA is evil. Whoa, really? Oh my God. He knew that he probably knew the price would be death, and it wouldn't really stop anything. Like, there would be no great revolution it would just be one more notch, the needle. The needle would move just a tiny fraction, and he was sacrificing his life for that. And I sometimes wonder when people make sacrifices like that, if they're trying to atone, if they feel so bad about what they've gotten involved in. There's this one TI who I really like, who was a member of the CIA or the FBI. And when he found out about gangstalking, he was like, guys, we gotta shut this down. This is not right. And all his colleagues were like, you're fucking insane. And he was like, make me a TI. He's like, I need to learn what it's like from the inside, so make me a TI. And they were like warning him, they're like, don't do that. Like, you really don't want to do that. And he's like, yeah, I do. Make me a TI. And he became a fucking TI. And now he just walks around the country doing gang-stalking awareness. Like, that's like the coolest guy. Like, I think that's a better way to atone than showing the heart attack gun and fucking... And for him, it wasn't even atonement. Like, it was just, as soon as he found out it was shitty, he immediately said, fuck this. Whereas the guy who had the heart attack gun and exposed it, he was probably feeling really bad about a lot of things and carrying on. And then finally, what Frank Abagnale Jr. said got the best of him, which was, whatever you do it carefully, because you're going to have to live with yourself for a long time. And just because you're young and robbing banks or something doesn't mean that later on you're not going to feel bad about it. And you'd think robbing a bank is a pretty victimless crime. And maybe it is, but if you're robbing the bank and the bank gets bailed out by the government, then you're really just the same as a big bankster. So there's no really ethical way to rob a bank, I don't think. Well, I've felt guilty about paying for the for the subway, or not the subway really, but what is it? The train, the TTC. What was it, the bus or something? I forget. But I had a cool friend in Denmark, and he would always... In Denmark, there were trains. You'd go down underground, and I guess it was a subway, but it was so nice. Taking a subway in Denmark, it's actually like taking a train. It's very beautiful. And this guy was so cool. His name was Neil. He was a millionaire by age 18. And I was 24 when I met him. He was 23. And he's living in this place. It was like $10,000 a month. He let me live with him for a while. And I felt like, wow, like, you're so successful. I think he did steroids too, but like just a small amount. I don't know. He was like super fit. He'd power walk everywhere he'd go. He'd just be like power walking like so fast. And so we went to take the subway, and he's like, okay, look. And he's like, okay, there's no one here? Okay, let's go. And he like guides us. He like shows us how to jump on the subway for free. And I thought, oh, Neil is so cool. And you know what it was? We have this thing, it's like the monorail in Kitchener. Remember the Simpsons episode, the monorail? I don't know what it's called, but it's like a train that goes through our city. It's really weird. It's like distinct for our city. And you buy your tickets from a machine, and then no one really checks your tickets. And I felt really guilty for paying for tickets. Like, oh man, I'm such a loser. I really shouldn't be paying for tickets. But in hindsight, I'm almost wondering if the fear I had was that it would be bad to steal because I like the train. Like, I like the public service. I wouldn't want to degrade the train. There's lots of places where I would be happy not to steal from them. Today I almost stole a bag of French fries from Walmart. The cashier was like, "Yay, those fries!" I was like, "Oh, oops." I told him my vlogging channel, and then right after I told him the vlogging channel, I was like, I raped a girl. Which, I should give you a little context in case you haven't seen that video. But my ex-girlfriend passed out, and I just kept fucking her. and there was a whole context, she cheated on me, and that made it even. And she also sucked my dick while I was sleeping on camera for a live audience of like 300 people, because we did webcamming, and that made it even. And she also, well, yeah, that's about it. She also wouldn't have cared that I did that, but it still felt sleazy. I was still like, that's a mistake. And if someone cheated on me again, like for example, if Marina and I become in a relationship again and she cheats on me, I won't fuck her while she's passed out or something like that. Okay, that was in my 20s. I'm older now, and by the way, cheating is rape. Because if you cheat on someone, they wouldn't fuck you. You don't have their consent. And so, we were just getting even. And, so like this guy, he's like, oh, what's your vlog channel? I tell him, and then I'm like, yeah, like one of the first videos that he was probably seeing is like me talking about like, raping my ex-girlfriend. And then in every other video, I'm talking about dance girl and blonde girl. Like, when it's legal, we're totally gonna have some romantic time. And then today, and just an update on that, I'm considering that Stockholm syndrome. Okay, so I don't owe dance girl and blonde girl any relationship. So there's no like promises with blonde girl and dance girl that I have to uphold. Okay, I'm not married to blonde girl and dance girl. That was Stockholm syndrome. And I recently had an episode of Stockholm syndrome again because I mentioned Louise, who is associated to blonde girl and dance girl, and then we had a bunch of harassing, threatening, sleep-depriving, torturous phone calls that made me want to get euthanized. And that triggered an episodic event of Stockholm syndrome in which I said, I love you, blonde girl and dance girl, which would make the torture go away, which would make them stop torturing me. And they were torturing me because I mentioned Louise, who is associated to them, after I told them that I don't owe them anything. Then I talk about Louise, then they say, oh yes, you do owe us something. And then I said, oh yes, I do, I'm so sorry, I love you so much. And then I had some Vipassana meditation, and I realized, what the fuck, I don't owe you that. I don't owe you that. Are you joking? So then I see this cashier again today, and I'm like, oh great, I wonder if he's judging me. And people are kind of diplomatic. I mean, a dog is diplomatic. A dog barks at you and it wags its tail at the same time. And its tail wagging says, hello, I'm a friend, but its bark says, but I'm also an enemy. And I'm figuring out which I am. And your reaction tells me what I am. I don't know who I am. So sometimes that's the vibe. And I kind of looked at this cashier like, oh great, you're judging me, aren't you? And I felt a kind of coldness coming back from him. But I don't necessarily know that, because I thought he was pretty cool, actually. I thought he seems like he's not even a gang stalker. I actually wondered if he doesn't even know what gang stalking is. And so I felt like a kind of coldness from him. And then, but a warmth too, just a neutrality. And he didn't mention the video or anything, or the videos. And then I didn't have enough money to pay for everything because I had to buy unscented baby shampoo, which cost $10 to wash my TLC Tugger, my foreskin restoration device made out of silicone, that you can't use regular dish soap on it because it leaves a very thin film that is very irritating to the skin. And unfortunately, the baby shampoo I got has moisturizer in it, which also leaves a very thin film, so I have to take that back and get Dr. Bronner's soap on Amazon for $11.99 on sale for 59 milliliters of it. Baby Castile soap, which is the best. And I'm excited for that. Then I can do a deep soak my TLC Tugger for an entire night, then rinse it with vinegar, then rinse it with water. Should get all the grime off of it. It should be like brand new. And so I had to get all this stuff, and I had also just got a Frankenstein boom arm for my microphone, so I can have my microphone in my podcast area, and I can have like the microphone stand with a wooden boom arm. boom arm that I got from Home Depot. And I also got some 2x4, a 2x4 from Home Depot that I got cut into sections to fix my chair. Because the legs on my chair fold in. And like if I'm sitting in the chair facing you, the two bottom legs, they fold in like this. And the two other ones fold in. But they do it unevenly, so the chair kind of leans. So I have to put wooden 2x4 chunks underneath and to keep the legs spread out and separated. And it worked perfectly, but that cost like $12. I'm out of breath. I need more root beer. I wanted to get Coke, but I'm not going to drink caffeine. You'll have to forgive me if I'm high. I was basically in withdrawal. Do you know that you're in withdrawal if you don't have the person you love, if they don't talk to you, you actually go into a drug-like withdrawal. Do you think that's the case with gang stalkers? That they get addicted to us? Especially someone like me. Because if someone's extremely insane, like I've dumped shampoo all over my face to pretend it's cum. Like I've heated up clear shampoo in the microwave, dumped it on my face to pretend it's cum. Burnt my eyes. When I was 15, I humped my dog. I've tried to suck my own dick many of times. I've like cut a hole in a box like this big and then filled up 2 water balloons and put them together on the hole in the box so that if there's just one it would fall through, but 2 kind of leaning together, it's big enough that it kind of just dips underneath the box but stays snug. And I've even put women's panties on it and then put it on my face while I was jacking off, sometimes with a big bag of beans, a bag of uncooked beans on fishing rod with a fishing line. And I would roll it up and then let it drop. You could flick the thing on your fishing rod and it lets loose all of a sudden. And I let the beans drop on my balls and try to come from hitting my balls while I'd be like face-sitting myself. I've done other fucked up things too. I've cut a hole in a box for my dick, bent over on my back, put my legs behind my head, and then put my dick through the hole so I could pretend it was someone else's dick, and jacked off in my own face, trying to suck my own dick. Almost having bought a book for $70 that claimed to teach me how to suck my own dick. I've had dreams of sucking my own dick. I've tried to fuck myself up my own ass. I've taken egg whites, put them in a strainer, hung it from the ceiling, and then spun it so that a whole bunch of egg whites would fall at different paces all over my face so I could pretend it was a bukkake and it was all warm. I would heat it up just warm enough so it didn't cook. And while jacking off all over my face too, or like trying to over the colander, or whatever it's called, the strainer. I've done dynamic meditation, like screaming, like I'm a kangaroo, I'm a kangaroo, like for an hour, like screaming, like I'm the devil, I'm a fucking devil, like screaming, like going nuts, like going like literally fucking insane. Screaming like the most heinous things you ever could, like, but like really, and then crying, like literally crying, and like almost gagging, like, but for real gagging, like almost throwing up, like going so insane that I'm almost throwing up. And ChatGPT says that when someone is highly specific and highly vulnerable, it triggers you to want to protect them. Like when someone's totally insane, it can actually increase bonding and love because you'll think, okay, I need to protect this person. This person is like, not only are they very vulnerable, okay, when they're highly unique and highly vulnerable, it triggers your protective mode of them. But it also triggers something about love and bonding because they're so unique. And that represents a side of yourself that you've repressed. It brings out something in yourself that you have kept private, and you see someone else acting this out. And I've thought, this is really good. I mean, who's more repressed than a gang stalker? This is after the embarrassment phase was over, which is quite embarrassing. You know, if you're laying around in your room jacking off on your own face, and then and I saw a comedian once who, he was like, my girlfriend keeps yelling at me for jacking off on my own face with sour cream. And I thought, my God. And in hindsight, I was like, are you spying on me? But, so you just finished dumping hot shampoo on your face. And then you go to a public setting where you're Mr. Cool. And you go, yo, what's up? Yeah, what's up, bro? Yeah, what's going on? And they all know that they all know what you're doing in private. Another girl this girl I really liked, I made all these fake cheering noises. Like I made fake clapping, like making a song, like as if I was like famous or locally famous. And she knew the whole time. It's tremendously embarrassing. But after I got over the embarrassment, I thought, it's good you've seen this. It's good everyone has seen this. I wish I could go back to that. It's hard when there's so many people watching you, especially people who are hurting you a lot of the time. It's hard to just be candid. When someone's there who doesn't like you, it shuts you down. And I have a feeling that gang stalkers know they're being watched all the time, and it's probably pretty difficult for them to have a candid moment. Everything they think and feel is probably scripted on some level. I mean, thank God I had the illusion of privacy. Thank God I could do what Osho calls dynamic meditation. He says before you meditate, you have to actually go crazy because you're so repressed that if you try to skip right to meditation, your repressions are too much and you won't be able to meditate. So first you have to do dynamic meditation, which is where you screech and you shout and you talk in free association gibberish. And you do that for like 20 minutes. And then you go, you stand in one spot and you go, hoo, 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 hoo. And every time you do that and you go, hoo, especially the word hoo, 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 and it triggers, it hammers on your sex center. Because your sex center starts off, once you're insane at least, it starts off insane in the bad way. Okay. Once you're conditioned, by insane I mean conditioned. Once you're a normie, once you've given up your soul in exchange for conformity and acceptance from the group, you end up in your head, and your energy is cerebral, your sexuality is cerebral, it's from the top down. And so the who activates your sex center, so your energy starts at the root and it starts flowing up. And we don't want it to go from top down, we want it to go from bottom up. We don't want to live through the mind, we want to live through the being. And the being has a natural succession of wheels that each wheel turns up to the next wheel. So those wheels are the chakras. And so you have to do the dynamic meditation to break all the conditioning in your mind. So your conditioning is that you're very proper, you're very sane, you're very orderly. And so you have to break that by going, wah, rah, you scream and shout and talk in languages that you've just made up. And at first it feels very contrived and artificial. But after you keep doing it for a while, you realize, wow, I'm really going nuts here. I'm really getting into this. And this is deeply therapeutic. And then after you do the who and you awaken your sex center, then after 15 minutes of that, a bell rings and you just pause. And you stay absolutely silent. You don't blink. And you freeze for another 15 minutes. You don't move your eyes. You don't move anything. Even if your eyes feel like they're going to explode, you don't blink. If you have to blink, if you can't control it, you blink. And that's fucking difficult. Standing still, in whatever position you're in, while you're going, who, bell rings, you just stop, you just freeze. and you freeze for 15 minutes. And then the final 15 minutes is very beautiful, soft music comes on, and then you lay on the floor and you just listen to the music, and you feel, not only when you're frozen, that's when you start feeling the energy flowing up. Until then, if someone says when you're meditating your energy flows up, you'll be like, it sounds cool, but I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's truly what your experience will be. But after you do the dynamic and you do the who and you hammer on your sex center, you activate your sex center, then you freeze, and then you feel so many currents of energy. And then you lay on the floor and you feel so many currents of energy, and it's so beautiful. And then you can meditate. And so I felt like so many gang stalkers needed to see that. And after I got over the embarrassment of it, it wasn't so bad anymore. And I'm happy. I used to be able to do it. I'd like to be able to do it again, actually. I actually have done it again. It's a little bit different being watched, but ultimately, it's the same thing. And before I knew I was being gang stalked, I did suspect I was being watched in our house. I did say things thinking, you shouldn't say this because there are people listening. Our house is bugged. But that's crazy. I could never really think that, but I kind of do think that. And I thought, the only people who are watching this, no offense, are so fucked up that it doesn't even matter. They're not even real people. They're just ghosts. Like, the only person who'd watch you on hidden camera is so fucked up that it doesn't matter what their opinion is anyway. But on a compassionate level, as someone who's actually taken great joy in dynamic meditation and shedding off years of repressions, the compassionate side of me says, you probably really need to see this. And I don't even judge you. I'm so happy right now that I just want to be happy, as opposed to hurt people. Happy people aren't revengeful or vengeful and angry and spiteful. I mean, I've never had anger towards people when I'm in a good mood. If anything, I'd feel bad for people if they were spying on me. I'd say, why are you spying on me? Don't you know that's going to harm you? What if you one day want to have pride? You're going to have to say, oh God, I spied on someone. What the fuck was I doing? What if you someday want to feel innocent? That's going to really harm you. You have to live with yourself. What's your method? Are you just going to abandon yourself? Are you just going to repress yourself? Now, I'm not trying to browbeat anyone here. Okay, for some people, it's probably their job to spy. But what? But I would imagine that some people find the job because they like to spy. I could imagine that some people do it like Kevin Spacey in the movie Seven. They do it because they like it, and they say, well, it's just my job. But really, the whole job thing is just an excuse. Or maybe there's a bit of both. Maybe it's their job, but they really get off on it, and they keep it secret. They don't really just masturbate directly because they know someone else is watching. But then later on when they masturbate, they think about it, and they go, I got away with it. I got away with spying and masturbating, and no one even caught me. Meanwhile, the person who's watching them is masturbating to it. I mean, it is degrading. It's extremely degrading. People basically like masturbating to you in secret on hidden cam, and then hanging out with you later like it's like there's nothing going on. Like, it's the power discrepancy is a lot, I've had people laugh at me. I was at a support group, and this one gang stalker, she just kept laughing and laughing. And it wasn't like a gang stalking tactic. She actually had to leave the room. She was laughing uncontrollably. And because I was playing it off so cool, like, hey, what's up? I'm so cool. And I was talking about God and metaphysics. And meanwhile, she knows that I'm going home to jack off all over my own face. Yeah. And, eventually she said something sexual to me. And, I really loved her. I felt like she wasn't even really aware of where she was. Like what this place is, what Earth is. I felt like she was very glib and superficial, but also a very bleeding, not a bleeding heart. She didn't have guilt or shame. Okay, there was nothing that would make her feel like, oh, I did something bad. But when she broke up with her boyfriend, for example, she was crying, and I cried with her almost. I really liked her, and I really loved her, and I could sense that she liked me. Even though she laughed at me, she extended a lot of friendship and sexual friendship towards me too, and it was great. I really liked her. I felt like she didn't realize where she is. She didn't realize that Earth is a prison, and she's a prison guard, and it's not cool. In her mind, she was like, it's all cool, and, at least that was the image she projected. She often had some very sad times too, and, she may have hid her feelings of sadness and perhaps feelings of guilt. She may have hid that, and it would come out sometimes when she was like extremely sad. And ultimately, I really liked her. Ultimately, I really liked everyone at the group, at the support group. I would like to go back, except for the fact that I've talked so much shit about all of them now. I feel like I've ruined it. They might not welcome me back. But I mean, the only way they'd know that I'd talk so much shit about them is if they were stalking me. So what can they really say? I mean, some of them, I'd feel really embarrassed how much shit I talked about them. I was really angry over the years at sometimes. But so I basically was like in withdrawal today. I was really upset. I hadn't heard from Marina yesterday, and then today it was like the second day in a row. And as soon as she messaged me, I was like, oh, I'm back. Okay, everything's good. Everything's amazing again. I'm super happy again. And so that's why I feel a little bit high right now. Now, hopefully she still likes me if I lose some weight. My friend, I don't want to lose any weight. I like being 175 pounds. That's the proper weight for me. But I have malabsorption. There's a bunch of food stuck in my small intestines. And as long as that's stuck in there, I can't actually absorb food that well. And therefore, I have to eat very concentrated food. They say, the Rockefellers, who formed the WHO in 1948, the world's first billionaire, J.D. Rockefeller, who made his money by controlling what you can teach in medical school, by giving medical schools grants in exchange for them teaching pharmacology instead of water fasting, and then he'd invest in pharmacology. And he changed what 70% of the medical schools taught back then. This was 100 years ago, and he became the first billionaire. And according to the WHO, you need 2,000 or 3,000 calories a day. And that's because you have a whole bunch of shit in your small intestines. And if you eat fruit, that's not very dense as far as the calories and the nutrients. I mean, we only know what we know. Okay, I don't mean to sound like I'm playing with words here. We only know what we know. I think I've heard somewhere, I might be making this up, we only know like 10% how could we even know the number? We only know like 10% of the nutrients that we're even getting in food. Most of the nutrients in the food that we are getting, we don't even know what it is. But when we have old shit stuck in our small intestines, we have to eat more nutrient dense foods, and we have to eat more calories to compensate for all the malabsorption. So just eating 1,000 calories a day of fruit, which is what the typical adult would need to maintain their healthy weight. So I could eat 1,000 calories a day, maintain a weight of 175 pounds. 175 pounds is my ideal weight. I can't really do that because I have all this shit in my small intestines. And so to get that out requires losing a bit of weight to do a water fast. And then I'll gain the weight back, but the weight I'll gain back will be much more beautiful. I can eat avocados too. I can be supple and juicy. And, ooh, some weird texture in there. And so it will be temporary. You'll lose 11 pounds the first week, about 3 pounds the second, and about 3 pounds the third. So I'll lose about 20 pounds, but then I'll gain it back pretty quickly. And I'll be a different composition then. Right now I'm like 100% fat. I'm skinny fat, I'm like very fat. It doesn't seem like it because I'm so skinny that it actually doesn't seem like it, but I'll actually be pretty fucking beautiful. And, I'm thinking about going to Switzerland and getting a fucking nitrogen pod and euthanizing myself. Okay? Let me just tell you how flippant I am. And Marina, if you're watching, don't take this as your responsibility, because I was thinking about this way before I met you. Okay, so, I mean, this is fucking fucked up, but when things don't go right, I'm thinking about going to Switzerland to get in a nitrogen pod, and everything sucks, and the whole world is hopeless, and everyone hates me, and the guy at Walmart thinks I'm a loser, and so does his coworkers, and so does everyone else. And then as soon as Marina messages me, I go like this. And I think I could be a fucking super hot guy. I could get this old shit out of my stomach. I could fucking have an amazing body. I am a fanatical, disciplined person. I'm insane when I'm disciplined. And I work out every single day. I eat the proper diet. And I get a fucking killer body. I use ChatGPT. I say, how do I get the most aesthetic body? I don't care about lifting a lot of weight, okay? I just want to look fucking booming. Because I want to get rich. Because I'm aware that most guys are. And I want to, make that YouTube money or something. And I'm joking. Most guys are actually autosexual. Most women are dykes. Most guys are autosexual. In the matriarch, a woman is a lot more evolved than a man. A gay man is on the same level as a typical woman. In my opinion. Okay, I could be wrong. Osho says most people are autosexual. I think since his time, it's changed. And that women are basically dykes and men are basically autosexual. And the very rare man makes it to homosexual. And the extremely rare man makes it to heterosexual. And the rare woman makes it to heterosexual. And so a real woman is like rare, but a real man is super rare. Now, for anyone who's gay, there's a guy who I think is gay who watches my videos who I like. And, the fact that I dumped shampoo all over my face should show you I'm not bigoted. But you might be upset that I'm saying a real woman is hetero and a real man is hetero. Well, really, a real man and a real woman are beyond sexuality. And they still keep their sexuality as an option, but not as a compulsion. It's no longer a need. But I say that a real man is hetero and a real woman is hetero. The reason I say that is because a real man who's gay is also a real man if he acknowledges it. But a man who's auto, who's pretending to be straight, is not a real man. And that's like 99% of them. And a real woman, or a so-called, who is dyke but pretends to be straight, is not a real woman. And that's like probably 20% of them. Probably 80% of women are autosexual, and like 19% of them are homo. So if you're still pretending to be something you're not, when you've not even matured through the phases, because we start as autosexual as babies, then we progress to homo, then we progress to hetero, then we progress to beyond sexuality, where we still keep sexuality, we still keep the first three phases, but we no longer are in a compulsion to them. We're no longer slaves to them. The screwed energy of sex goes away then, as Osho says. And so, what? I completely forgot what I'm talking about. Oh, it's fucking gross over here. Look at this. Fucking old oil. I'm not supposed to dump it down the sink. So anyway, what I was talking about was, as soon as Marina messages me, I am like, I'm going to be a super hot guy now. And I don't want Marina to feel like she owes me anything, because I've been thinking that before I even knew her, that life sucks, and therefore I really ought to just get euthanized, since it's legal in Switzerland. But before I do that, I definitely want to get a hot body. You know, I'd like to be as hot as possible. And because the main reason why I want to get euthanized is because my relationship with women sucks. And it's such a torture. You know, it really, really sucks. And I feel like I'm stuck in the heterosexual phase. And, you know, in my 20s, I went through the gay phase. And now I'm in the heterosexual phase. And I feel like I can't get out of it. And it just goes on and on. It just keeps me in bondage forever. And I thought, well, if you're really stuck in it, you should actually make yourself as beautiful as possible. Because that's going to make more people like you. And that might be the sacrifice that you have to make. I mean, if your dick and balls smell like an asshole, you're probably like pretty unhealthy. And you have a low emotional intelligence. Your EQ is pretty low. And that prevents you from relating well with women. And so you pretty much need to work out your emotional issues. And that would actually help you have some gash that will make you satisfied and move you up to your enlightened phase. And so before you just go getting euthanized, complaining that there's a matriarch and women suck, why don't you try being your best self? And although I've been pretty weak, and I've actually eaten a lot of junk food, and I've, you know, jacked off a lot more than I wanted to, wasted a lot of energy, I've worked a lot on being relatable and a joy to be with. Like, I pretty much have good energy. Like, I'm not nervous or weird. I'm pretty much like, all the time, I'm pretty much a happy guy. And Osho says that if you're happy, your meditation will come automatically. Even if you don't meditate, if you're just happy, your meditation will happen automatically. And in the last, I mean, since my 30s, basically, with the exception of some severe trauma I went into, I have basically been a happy guy. I'm basically always happy. Now, if I'm having relationship problems, that's a little bit different. But barring that, I'm pretty much happy. And I think that that's the reason why I was able to get in a relationship to begin with. I mean, a while ago, when I first saw Marina, I thought, and Marina and I are broken up, we're just friends now, but at least we were in a relationship, and we still talk, and she still wants to visit. So that's pretty cool. But when I first saw Marina, I thought, you're really beautiful. Like, you're super hot. And I was pretty nervous to call her. And like, once we started talking, if she didn't like my comment, I would be really upset. And she said, you know, I want to be one of your girlfriends. And I said, you know what, you already were, but we broke up because you told me that you liked my voice and that finally you had seen my face. And I thought, if you really liked me, you would have wanted to see what I look like as soon as you heard my voice, but you just waited like you were indifferent. So yeah, we already were dating in my mind, Marina, but we broke up. Sorry. But then we got back together, and I was pretty nervous to talk to her, but then once I talked to her more, I thought, this is cool. I mean, I had been with hot girls before, but my first hot girlfriend, my first 10 girlfriend, was not the one I wanted. I wanted Chelsea. So I never gave a shit. I was just like, well, you're not Chelsea, so I don't give a fuck. But this girl was actually as beautiful as Chelsea. This was like a truly stunning girl. But I was like, I don't give a fuck because you're not Chelsea, so I don't care. I only want Chelsea. And I would sleep with her just to get my confidence up and then go out into her driveway and call Chelsea and be like, hey, what's up, Chelsea? What's going on? And Chelsea is already aware that I'm a complete fraud who like jacks off in my own face with sour cream. Not literally, but, you know, almost literally. And, that was pretty bad, actually. That was pretty calloused of me with that girl. But that girl also never sucked my dick. And she was, and I talked to her best friend. I lost my virginity to her best friend. And I said, it was so weird. She never sucked my dick. And I said, I guess she never sucks dick. But I have these saggy fucking balls, too. I thought that was why. Maybe it was. And her best friend said, oh no, we've sucked guys' dicks together. I said, are you serious? She said, yeah. She said, we all think that she went crazy. She fucking went ballistic on all of us. Maybe she became gang stalked. I mean, I saw her stalking me at the market. I think she's a gang stalker. She used to tell me, oh, man, you have no idea how bad the government is. And I'd be thinking, shut up. I'd be thinking of fucking torturing her and killing her. Not literally, like, not like I wanted to act on it, but I'd be thinking of like, I'd be feeling guilty about it. I'd be thinking like, man, I could just imagine you just burning in fire right now, telling me that the government's corrupt, as if I don't already know that. Like, how cliche can you get? Like, why are you saying this? Man, the government's so corrupt. People have no idea. But she was actually right. I really did have no idea how corrupt it was. She was ultimately saying, I'm a gang stalker. And probably the reason why I had those weird, violent thoughts that were like super fucked up were because I got strangled from the gang stalkers and sexually assaulted. And then I had like weird, uncomfortable thoughts. But she also, one time while we were kissing, she said, why are your eyes open? I said, I don't know, because I like looking at you while we kiss. I mean, we had a good relationship, and years later, I went back to her house. I said, I'm sorry for grabbing at you. One time I was kind of play fighting with her. I wasn't trying to have sex with her. I was just like kind of grabbing at her, like as if I was her brother or something. And she screamed, don't touch me! And then after that, we had unprotected sex for the first time. And then she stalked me to a bar with some guy who was like, I was with this other girl who's the daughter of a cop who was a gang stalker, who was a real tease. And I saw her and I went over to her, and her friend was just a complete jerk to me, and she didn't stand up for me. And after I was grabbing at her and she yelled at me, I said sorry. You know, I was like deeply shocked. I was like, I really didn't mean it. Like, I'm really sorry. And after that, we never talked. And then I went back years later, once I was going kind of nuts, before I had come to terms with gang stalking and realized definitively what it was. And I left a note saying, hello, I bought you these incense. I hope you're doing well. You know, I never wrote the part where I was at the market where you stalked me, eating fries, and a guy walked up behind me and he grabbed me. And I was so cool, I just stood there and I just turned like a great white whale, and I just went, oh, what's going on? And he said, and I think it was your dad. And I said, and he said, I mean, oh, sorry, I thought you were giving these fries out as samples. So that's why I had to grab you. I was like, okay, that makes no sense. But I was like, oh, well, do you want a fry? He's like, no. Now that I know they're yours, I won't take your fries. So I didn't write that part of the note, but I gave the note to her dad. And then I went back and I left incense too. And I said, did she get the note? And he said, yeah. And then I went back another time and I gave her a CD that she had left, a DVD that she had left at my house, and it was her mom there. And I approached her mom in the driveway, and her mom was scared of me. And I said, whoa, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to approach you so abruptly here. I just have something for Jess. I have this fucking DVD here. It's hers. She forgot it at my house. Then she comes back. She comes to my house. And she leaves a really nice letter in the mailbox. Very beautiful. And by this time, I'm aware of cosmic law. I'm aware it's weird that if you go to someone's house 3 times, it's weird. But I'm also aware of cosmic law. That the nature of the note I write is not possessive, it's not needy, it's not stalkery, it's not, oh my God, I'm fucked up and I need your help. It's not any of those things. So she writes a nice letter, she brings it to my house, she leaves it in the mailbox with her phone number inside. I think, ooh. So I text her with basically the intent of let's have sex, but I don't quite say that, but I basically text her. And she gets all snippy and she says, I have a boyfriend, you know, are you seeing anyone? And she's like, is this a joke? Is this like a trick? Are you trying to be mean to me? I was like, no. And then she starts lecturing me. She says, you need to read books. Because I say, I'm kind of sad now. And she's like, oh, well, you need to travel and read books. And she gives me this like long lecture. And I was like, no, the reason I'm sad is because you just asked me if this was a joke. You asked me if me talking to you was a joke. And you gave me your phone number when you have a boyfriend. What the fuck is that? And then we just never talked. And then she stalked me to the market. And so my next girlfriend was really hot too, but I was always trying to win her. Always trying to win her. And then my next girlfriend after that, in a way, it was Chelsea. Although I've never had sex with Chelsea, I've lived with Chelsea for a week. I'm pretty sure Chelsea has masturbated to me on hidden cam and confessed it indirectly and said that I make her shake. Which I shake too sometimes when I masturbate. My leg literally convulses like a dog getting scratched. And I still had the feeling of, if only I can win your love. And finally I did feel like I won it, and then I felt like, and you're not even that great, Chelsea. You actually are not that great. You're kind of a manipulator, actually, and you're a self-righteous manipulator. You're the type of person who very literally wrote on her Instagram post or something how violated she felt by the bank, like withholding her data or some something that the bank she did that she didn't like. And she said, I feel violated. And I sent her a message after. I said, because you human sex trafficked me, I bullied a girl and she killed herself. You want to talk about violated? Fucking nut. And then, that was in my late 20s. And then by my 30s, I was done with trying to find anyone. And then I had Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero has a very beautiful face. Okay, I slept with her every weekend for a couple years. She didn't really have the widest hips, but she had a very beautiful face. She had big tits. Some guys would have, she made like $2,000 a month just having sex with a guy. Like he'd take her with her roommate. They were prostitutes, and they would go in a limo to the CN Tower, and they'd have dinner and have threesomes with this guy, and they'd get like $2,000 a month. And, she was quite beautiful, but she didn't have those wide hips. So I never really took that seriously, but I really loved her. I said, you're the fucking best. I'd go over, she'd have the weed ready. She'd have my almond milk ready. I said, I don't just love you because you smoke me up. You're really the fucking best. We had a lot of fun. She had a really good sense of humor. And finally, when I started going a bit nuts from being gang-stalked, she stopped talking to me then. And I think some of what caused that was that I was publicly accusing her of being a stalker, which she, I think, was, but she also had a stalker, which was weird, who she put in the mental hospital. And I sometimes wondered, maybe she was a TI. But later on, I sent her a message saying, I don't blame you for being a gang stalker. It's totally cool. And that took me right up to about age 30. And then in age 30, I stopped going on dating sites. I stopped trying to meet anyone. And I just focused on being happy. And then I met Marina, who, when I first saw her, I thought, oh, wow, you're beautiful. You're really fucking gorgeous. And then once we started talking, instead of feeling like I was, as I always like to say, looking up at her from beneath the sewer pipes, hoping she has nowhere to take a shit but my face. Okay, it's an old line. I've said it too many times. It's not funny anymore. Instead of feeling like I was just a worm beneath her feet, I felt like I'm a real person now. I'm actually a real person with standards now. And it does make sense that you would like me, and it is within my reality. It does feel normal to me that someone of your caliber would like me. And relating has been really cool. It's been really great. Now, there was a bit of that with my ex-girlfriend in my 20s when I would sort of let my gut out around her. A mouse ran towards me once, and I screamed like a girl. But I was quite embarrassed. And when I had to talk to myself, because I was, frankly, I'd diagnose it as a bit schizophrenic, I would have to go in the bathroom to talk to myself because I wouldn't want her to hear it. There was still lots I hid from her. Now, perhaps I'd still be talking to myself now, if only I wasn't being watched by people. But I think that I've grown out of it. I mean, even in my mind, I don't talk to myself. And so it would be nice to have a super hot bod. But a lot of the growth that I've done has come just from getting the skeletons out of my closet. And that was a main factor. I'm absolutely certain there are guys who are better looking than me, but I feel more attractive because I'm cooler than them. And so if I had to put my points into either looking better or feeling better, I'd put my points into feeling better. But you might want to look better too. That might be fun. You might want to have both. And it might be separate reasons. Maybe you basically look how you look. You know, your bones are formed by the time you're 5. Ultimately, like the shape of your face, you're not really going to change much. You can change your composition, but the point of looking better might be just for all the guys who are auto on YouTube who their next step is going to be homo, but they're not even there yet. They don't even know it. So they'll go, oh, look, a guy with a hot body. Oh, he's awesome. I should subscribe to him. I should probably take his workout program. And my workout program will just be like, do a push-up. Or something like that. Or like, I could be a stripper or something. I really want to be a stripper. I really do. I honestly really want to be a stripper. Even if no one likes me, I want to just try it. I really want to fucking try it. When I went to the support group, I talked about that for years. If I was a stripper, I would go back to the support group. I would say, guys, I'm finally going to do it. I need your support. Please come to the strip club. Okay? I'm finally going to do it. I need you to cheer for me. I know I'm being gang stalked. I know you're not allowed to say that. I know that you have to pretend that gang stalking isn't real, so let's just pretend that's not real. I'm afraid that people are going to be gang stalkers in the audience. They're going to give me a hard time. So I need you guys to please come to the fucking strip club and cheer me on, because I need this. And I think